Hello, my name is Emma Bond, and today I would like to talk to you all about empathy. Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird says this about empathy. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb inside of his skin and walk around in it. So today I would like to talk about the definition and decline of empathy, some practical ways to increase empathy, and then what it would look like to put those in action. I did a lot of research leading up to this subject and found some surprising things that I'm really excited to share with you, so let's get started. First, let's all get on the same page about what empathy means. So the Cambridge Dictionary defines empathy as the ability to share someone else's feelings or experiences by imagining what it would be like to be in that person's situation. A lot of people confuse sympathy with empathy. So sympathy means feeling sorry for someone, and empathy means to put yourself in that person's shoes. As I was performing this research, I found a study at the University of Michigan that measured the decrease of empathy in college students. So Sarah Conrath, who's a researcher at the University of Michigan Institute for Social Research, said, "We found the biggest drop in empathy after the year 2000. College kids today are about 40% lower in empathy than their counterparts of 20 or 30 years ago, as measured by standard tests of this personality trait." This is particularly interesting to me, specifically that they chose college students. And a line of thought as to the cause of this has been social media and the advance of technology. Whether that's true or not, nobody has determined yet, but I thought that was really interesting. Now I'd like to talk about some ways that we can practically increase our empathy. So one of those ways is active listening. So when you are having a conversation with someone, a way to practice active listening is by listening. So you're listening to what they're saying and not thinking about what you are going to say next. Another way to practice active listening is by repeating back what the person has said to you in your own words to be sure that you're understanding correctly. Another way to increase empathy is by sharing. It's really hard for a lot of people to be genuine and vulnerable when talking with other people, but it's essential in order to increase your empathy. And the last point that I found was reading fiction. Studies have shown that reading literary fiction actually increases empathy in people. So I found this really fascinating because I love to read, and so I did a little more research into this particular line of increasing your empathy, and I found several articles, so I'd like to share some excerpts of those with you. In Novel Finding, Reading Literary Fiction Improves Empathy, Julianne Chait said, "Researchers at the New School in New York City have found evidence that literary fiction improves a reader's capacity to understand what others are thinking and feeling." And Sarah Kaplan quotes Keith Oatley, who is a researcher of empathy, in her article, "Does Reading Fiction Make You a Better Person?" She says, "When we read about other people, we can imagine ourselves into their position, and we can imagine what it's like being that person," Oatley said. "That enables us to better understand people and better cooperate with them." Now that we've talked about some practical ways that you can increase your empathy, let's talk about why it's important. One of my personal heroes, Fred Rogers, said, "Knowing that we can be loved exactly as we are gives us all the best opportunity for growing into the healthiest of people." I think empathy is particularly important now as we are going through a pandemic. There are a lot of people that have loved ones that are at risk, or they themselves are at risk. A lot of people that have lost their jobs. School children have to learn online now. So there's a lot of changes and a lot of stress for a lot of people. And I think that empathy can really help us connect and get through this all together. So today we talked about the definition and decline of empathy in our society. We talked about some practical ways to increase empathy, and we talked about what it would look like to put that in action. And now it's your turn to take action. You can get a library card for free and start reading more books to increase your empathy. Everything at the library is free. Usually, you can go inside the library and apply right then and there. However, since they're closed, they also have an application online. I have linked that on the PowerPoint presentation here, but if you do a quick Google search, you'll be able to pull it up. And as well as physical materials, the library also provides a ton of e-services, so ebooks, e-music, things like that. So I highly recommend checking that out and increasing your empathy today. Thank you so much for watching my speech. I really appreciate getting the chance to talk with you all today, and I hope you're all staying safe and well.